Welcome to the Lexus RC F. Five-liter V8, 472 horsepower, 8-speed automatic transmission, and I think a gorgeous, gorgeous car overall. Look at these seats. Amazing. You even have a couple back seats back there. They're a little tight, but they're usable in a pinch. I've been trying to get a hold of one of these for quite a while as a press car. I've only driven them on track. They're pretty good on track, but I really wanted to see what this is like as a daily driver in a street car. So this week I've probably put, 100 or so miles on it. Driven it every day. I will say it's a really, really fun car to live with. It's comfortable. It's very, very just pleasant to drive on a daily basis. And oh man, it's also a performance powerhouse. This thing has insane levels of grip. I'm hitting 65 miles an hour on highway entrance ramps on this thing. There's not a lot of cars that I'd test that can do that. Probably in thanks to the Pilot Super Sport tires and the suspension tuning, but this is a pretty good performer. Let's take you on a little walk around here. We'll show you guys what this is like from a practical standpoint. We've got a decent amount of trunk space in the back, a little tiny window where you can pass things through. I don't think the rear seats fold down, however, and a flat repair kit back here. This has the performance package with the carbon fiber accent, so you get the spoiler, the carbon roof, some pretty cool features. The interior on this is absolutely gorgeous, I think. Kind of inspired by the LFA in some respects. Like I said earlier, these back seats are a little bit cramped. Getting back here isn't horrible, and they do give you a little bit of foot room under the seat, even when it's put back pretty far, but headroom is a little bit limited, and I could definitely put this passenger seat forward a little bit. But they're usable in a pinch. You even have a couple cup holders back here with F logos. I'm just so impressed at how quality this interior is, and all the leathers, the Alcantara, the touch points. It's gorgeous. Really though, if you need a vehicle that you can fit 4 people in, swing for the GSF. It's just as good of a performance car, if not better. Let's show you guys under the hood too. This 5-liter V8 is a masterpiece to drive, and it's not bad to look at either. Lexus gives you a little bit of a blue accent here on the intake manifold. That's pretty cool. And you even have a hood vent. There's a little bit of a scoop here, but you can take that off and probably get a little bit more cooling. I don't know if that's going to add downforce, but that could be a functional hood vent if you wanted to remove that for track days or something like that. These gorgeous headlights. I think there's just so many cool elements to this car's design all throughout. I'll show you guys what the spoiler looks like. This pops up. You can raise it manually, or it'll come up automatically at speed. Yeah, just look at this thing. I complained a couple weeks ago about the LC500 that I had. The brakes were a little bit touchy and didn't have any feel to them. That is not the case with these F brakes. These performance brakes are massive. They have amazing bite, really good pedal feel, and it's all the brake you need in a car like this. All right, let's hop inside. I'll show you guys around for a minute, and then we'll take this thing for a drive. So we have some really thoughtful elements in here. Really, gosh, there's just so many great features in this car. You have Mark Levinson sound system, which sounds phenomenal. We'll do an audio test on that a little bit later. Heated, cooled seats. You get a lot of different vehicle, dynamic settings. You can control, sport mode, sport plus. You have normal. You have a custom mode. You have eco. This car drives great in normal mode. And if you need to quickly switch it over into a performance setting, you can throw it into Sport or Sport Plus. In Sport Plus, you can quickly turn off traction and stability control, completely disable all the systems. Oh man, you even have different TVD controls, track, standard, slalom. Over here, you have these F pages, performance pages, where you can see your G-force meter, your tire pressures, whether your spoiler's up, lap times, a lot of cool stuff. Torque distribution from that torque vectoring limited slip differential. Ignore my fuel economy on there. I've been hustling this thing all week. And then one of my favorite features, especially for drivers who go out to the track, you get a oil temperature and a coolant temperature gauge. And when you put it in Sport Plus, that's right in the center of your display. In normal driving mode, it moves to the upper left next to the fuel meter. Pretty cool feature. You can kind of keep an eye on your oil temps. Again, a thoughtful thing that not a lot of performance cars have these days. Otherwise, really nice ergonomics in this. I'm even getting used to and kind of enjoying the touchpad now. I don't know, guys. I think the more you live with the system, the easier it gets to use. Apple CarPlay works really well with it. Waze, all that stuff. You have, multiple apps down here, but all your buttons and everything for your climate control, radio tune, scroll knobs. Really, it's kind of an easy car to use now with all these systems. No major complaints. And I think I'm just getting better at this touchpad. I made a little bit of adjustments. I turned it to low sensitivity, and that seemed to help a lot. Little tiny reverse camera. You can switch it between wide angle and super wide angle, where it's almost, actually it looks like 180 degrees to me. Turn your lines on and off. Turn as well for you. Alright, let's go for a drive. That's what this is for. Good turning radius too. So when you're driving this car around normally, it is quite comfortable. These seats are phenomenal. They hold you in really well. They're really well bolstered, nicely supported. And this car has a decent ride quality to it, especially considering how much grip there is to this platform. It's pretty amazing the G-force this thing puts down, but it still remains comfortable on the street. The ride quality isn't harsh. It's a little bit on the stiff side compared to a normal car like a standard RC, but it's not that much stiffer, and it's not punishing. It's definitely dailyable. The transmission is a little bit of a sticking point. It's slightly old school, a little bit antiquated feeling, especially when you compare it to the new 10-speed. However, it's fun and exciting. The shifts when you're in performance modes are harsh, and they kind of throw you into the back of your seat a little bit. They're quick when you want them to be, and the transmission is really responsive when you're just in normal drive modes. So you put your foot down, it responds immediately. It's really good at holding gears, deciding which gear to select. It's just not DCT quick or ZF 8-speed automatic quick. It's a really good transmission though, but in this modern day and age of pretty much transmission perfection with regards to most automatics and performance cars, this falls a little bit short in responsiveness. But it does the job. It does what you want it to do when you want it. You might just wait just a little bit longer than, let's say, the new LC500s or the GSF's transmissions. We'll show you some examples of that. Let's throw it into, let's go Sport Plus here. And hit this entrance ramp. Cannot believe the grip this thing has. The mechanical grip is just insane. Decent amount of steering feel. And again, once you're up in the high revs, this thing does shift quite fast. The paddles are responsive. It's more Lexus ISF than GSF, so it kind of splits the difference between those generations of transmission tuning technology. It's a great overall setup. I think it's not a deal breaker, and it still adds to the performance and to the enjoyment of this car. It does take some time to warm up in the morning. So when you first get in this car and you go for a drive and you're kind of waiting for things to heat up, the transmission takes a little bit longer to start giving you those blipped downshifts and really quick shifts at high RPMs. That's probably just kind of save it, so to speak. Lexus has done some tuning there, but once everything's warmed up, this car drives great. We've got some really, really nice overall performance here, and it's a balanced setup. This thing's fast. It pulls. It feels like it's putting down a little bit more than 472 horsepower, especially once you get into those high RPMs. There's no one behind us here. Let's do a little brake test. Throw it into sport mode here. Oh man, yeah, the brakes in this are just awesome. And the soundtrack that this 5-liter V8 makes, it's good, guys. It's really good. You do get a little beep sometimes if you're in manual mode, telling you when to shift at red line. However, the rev limiter in this is pretty wild too. It's a lot like the LCs I had last week. It just it revs up and it goes brrr, just bounces off. Pretty cool. I love that you can just disable traction control immediately in Sport Plus mode with just a press of a button. You don't have to hold it down. This car is really fun to drive too. It's heavy, it's still 3,900 pounds, but it's playful. The suspension tuning, everything is set up so that this car does have it's a solid feel to it, but it's very predictable at the same time. You know exactly what the car is going to do. You have good steering feel, pretty decent inputs. The chassis kind of rotates around you. There's nice rotation, a little bit of safe understeer at the limit. The brakes give you a ton of confidence. This would be a fun track car also. And I do appreciate how quickly you can change drive modes in this. Show you guys what it's like to downshift here, even just regular drive mode. Pretty responsive. I mean, honestly, that's not bad. Get a pretty good idea of I would say really the only difference between the shifts in this and like a ZF 8-speed or a dual clutch, or even like the new LC500 I had last week, the shifts are just a little bit more, they're rougher, okay? They're going to move you around a little bit. You're going to feel them in your seat a little bit. And I think in some ways that's a little bit more engaging and exciting. It's kind of like old school Aston Martin single clutch gearboxes, you know? This is arguably better transmission than a single clutch gearbox. I think it is actually, but It's definitely not as smooth of a shifting experience, but it's fast, it's responsive, it does what you want it to when you want it. One thing I don't like about Sport Plus mode is just how immediate the throttle uptakes, but we can get some jerky inputs that way. Well, while we're behind this truck, let's settle down, talk a little bit about what this car is like to drive. We'll set cruise control. I really like what Lexus has done here with the cruise control, lane keep assist, and the following distance, the radar guided cruise control. These ergonomics, it still kind of uses the old school Lexus cruise control stock. That works awesome, and it's just super easy, intuitive to do. It's a system that you can use without having to take your eyes off the road. You're going to gauge your radar there. You have to turn off traction control, turn back on traction control, and you can adjust your following distance so quickly and so easily. It's a pretty good radar guided cruise control. No complaints, blends speed nicely. Lane keep assist is a little bit of a different story. Doesn't quite work that well. I think it's more of like a, oh, hey, I'm out of my lane now, and it's going to give you a little nudge. It's not a lane centering system. It's a lane keep assist system. So that's something I've just really been turning off, to be honest. Again, great transmission programming. If you just need to pass someone, it'll find the lower gear, hold that torque, and pull you around the vehicle you're passing. It's not going to be hunting. There's not going to be overshifting close to red line. Really nice transmission programming from this. One thing that is an annoyance with all Lexus products, and I think a lot of Toyota products these days, you get this whole screen that tells you what speed you're going when your cruise control is set. I wish they would just put that in just a tiny little graphic in the center display. They have an entire digital gauge cluster to work with. Why couldn't they just program that to come up right there or something? Kind of silly, but again, that's just a Lexus gripe that I have. Anyway, guys, how can we sum up the RC F? I'm actually really surprised at how much I like this car. This thing has gotten under my skin this week. I would totally daily drive one of these, no problem. I love the looks. I love the way it is comfortable, but really fun to drive at the same time. You can kick this thing sideways. You can take it to the track. You've got really a lot of performance here and a lot of fun. This 5-liter V8 is a masterpiece. The transmission is actually quite good once you start to hustle it and use it, and it's really nice on the daily grind. It's not rough, it's smooth, it's comfortable. I think also this car would be pretty economical if you didn't drive it like a hooligan all the time. This is rated for 24 miles to the gallon on the highway. I think you could probably get close to that, if not beat it, if you were just cruising at like 70, 75 miles an hour. As a result, flogging in the city, you're probably not going to be getting great gas mileage, but that's the way things go. You get smiles per gallon that way instead of miles per gallon. All right, let's do a little audio test in the RCF here. So go to our music. We've got our Mark Levinson sound system. Sound test playlist. Here we go. can't go wrong with the Mark Levinson system. This sounds awesome. Really clear, great bass, great tonality. Love it. There you go, guys. Get a good idea of that. Again, gosh, just using this car, everything is laid out really well once you get used to it. I love the intelligence behind everything that's laid out in the gauge cluster. You just have all your information. It's easy to see. It's not too cluttered, except that screen keeps popping up. You get this little tiny speedometer in the bottom right-hand corner, which is kind of cool. I don't even mind these climate control sliders. They work pretty well. Somewhat different. It's not quite as nice as a knob where you don't have to look down to see what you're doing, but I think with a little bit of practice you could probably get that down without taking your eyes off the road. Again, just a really well laid out cabin. Very user friendly. Guys, I think this is still a relevant performance car today. I don't see a lot of these on the road too, and you know, if you kind of take this as a similar spiritual car to the E92 M3, which I think is probably one of the best performance sedans ever made, this is kind of, it's not as good as the E92 M3, but it's a car that you can buy brand new with a warranty, and that's going to be incredibly reliable. This is being a Lexus. You kind of can't go wrong with the build quality and the overall ownership experience of this car. So, pretty high marks for me. I am excited also to get into a GSF. Hopefully we can snag one of those here soon, before it gets too late in the season. But great car. You want a good looking sporty coupe that you can take to the track and enjoy on a daily basis. This is an awesome vehicle. MSRP on this is around 65 grand. As tested, fully loaded, this is about 80 grand. The RCF track is pushing 100 grand, close to that. This is a really sweet spec. With the carbon, the torque vectoring limited slip, this thing drives great. So anyway, guys, high marks for me. I think on paper this car doesn't quite add up, but once you drive it, once you experience it, once you live with it, it's a truly great performance car. And I don't know how much longer they're going to keep making these. You can also pick them up pretty cheap used. So there's that. And of course they have done some updates, some refreshes for 2019. Minor things, little aesthetics here and there, but anyway, guys, that's it for the RCF. I don't know if I'll do another video on this week. Probably will. But until then, thanks for watching, guys. We'll see you in the next one, hopefully soon. Civic Type R coming in next week. Really excited to drive that too. A lot of good performance cars this summer. Yeah, I could get used to this. All right, guys. Thanks again. We'll see you later. Take care.